So welcome. Thank you all for joining us. My name's Josie Lake, and I'm the Interim Program Partnership Manager here at GEO Nova Scotia. And we're here to explore a topic that's very dear to my heart and increasingly vital part of digital inclusion, and that's employment and training opportunities. And I come from a history of community learning myself as a digital inclusion facilitator there. So I was very excited to be asked to join you all here on this panel. And of course, most of us have interacted off and on over the past little while virtually, and it's our first opportunity to meet in person. Clayton, we're still working on that. We'll get an in-person meet and greet here soon. Before we get started, just a reminder to everyone to scan those QR codes. I'm sure you probably haven't heard that today, but there is some door prizes, there's QR codes, but also for the feedback as well. We really appreciate feedback from all of the events and the different things that we do. So your feedback means a lot to us. Reminder, if you're joining us on Zoom, you will be automatically entered in for the door prizes. So yeah, I guess it's time we can get started. So I figure you are all the best to introduce yourselves rather than have me try to stumble my way through it. So perhaps Ernie, if you would like to start, and then we just pass the microphone along.
Absolutely.
All right.
Would be happy to. Hello, everybody. My name is Ernie Chan. I'm here representing Employment Nova Scotia. We're a division within the Department of Labor, Skills and Immigration. So in my day-to-day, I'm responsible for the development and the ongoing support for our public employment, digital employment services platform. It's a website called novascotiaworks.ca, also known as Nova Scotia Works Online, and it really works in partnership and alongside our kind of bricks and mortar Nova Scotia Works experience. So many of you may or may not be familiar. We have 16 organizations that deliver in-person services in over 40 locations across the province, but Nova Scotia Works Online is our digital foray. So really excited to be on this panel and share some of the insights and trials and tribulations from what we've seen since we launched in 2020.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Colleen Hollohan, and I'm proud to represent Solutions Learning Centre. Solutions Learning Centre has been educating and helping Nova Scotians in Dartmouth for almost 45 years. So a long legacy, working with individuals with barriers, getting back into the workplace. I'm very proud that we have launched the digital. In the last 2 years, we have delivered over 14 digital programs throughout the province, meaning all the little rural areas that no one knows where they are. We've been there, and now we can say they are connected. So my role with the center is I do a lot of the intake, but I also am the digital facilitator for a lot of our digital programs. And as well, I do a lot of employer engagement. So getting the business partners, employers on board to find out what we do and who we serve. I got lots of fun things, but I will pass it over to my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Amin Zribi. I'm project manager with Digital Nova Scotia. We are building confidence across Nova Scotian here, building skills so that they thrive in this digital economy. So my role includes managing projects, mainly upskilling projects related to cybersecurity and data analytics. I'm managing skills for hire so far. And in parallel, we got an experience managing also AI adoption program to improve workplace productivity here in Nova Scotia. And I'm so proud to present today some feedback on my experience to highlight how cybersecurity and AI is changing the digital adoption. Thank you.
Thank you.
Testing. Oh, it works. Perfect. Thanks. And then I'll pass to Clayton.
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fiona Munro, and I am very proud to be the Executive Director for NPower Canada here in the Atlantic region, and more importantly, Nova Scotia. For those of you who maybe haven't heard of NPower Canada before, we are a national not-for-profit. We've been in Canada for just over 10 years, and we entered Nova Scotia in 2019, just before the pandemic, so sometimes timing is golden. We are an employment solution I'll get into what that looks like, but essentially we reach out to those who need us most, who are experiencing barriers to employment, and we provide them with free training in a number of subjects, including IT, data analytics, and cybersecurity, and then we coach them and support them to find meaningful employment. I work with an incredible team, two of whom are here, our program managers, and then Melanie Goodrich, who leads our outreach efforts and won an award today. So I'm very humbled to be representing a larger team, and thank you for having me. And I will pass to you, Clayton.
Hello, can everybody hear me good?
Yeah.
Sweet. So my name is Clayton Daury. I work for the Aboriginal Peoples Training and Employment Commission, and that is an umbrella under the Native Council of Nova Scotia. And my role is public relations and promotions, but we work with off-reserve Indigenous people across the whole province for employment and training initiatives. And yeah, that's why I'm here today.
Perfect. Thank you all so much again for joining us. Of course, when it comes to talking about digital inclusion, a part of that to keep in mind is also the digital exclusion factor. So that plays into all of the kind of the questions that we have. We'll do our best to hear from each of you on the different questions that we have to ask. Don't worry, if we don't get to you in one question, we'll certainly come around to you for the next one. So Ernie, if you wouldn't mind maybe starting us off, from your perspective and your experience, how does digital inclusion or exclusion impact the training and employment in Nova Scotia?
Yeah, so when I think about the employment service system and how it traditionally is delivered across the country, so in our different provinces and territories, I've said this phrase before, but it's a very bricks and mortar model. So it's an 8:30 to 4:30, and you're going in person and you're meeting with career practitioners or employment specialists who are helping you on the job seeker side try to return to work, or from the employer side finding individuals to work for your company. And we have this concept within the Nova Scotia government and within our department of really trying to deliver the right service at the right time. And I think that's really where we've seen the adoption of a digital employment service platform, so a website to deliver these employment services has really benefited many more people than kind of this service was originally built for. So thinking about your traditional barriers that might prevent you from going in and meeting with somebody 8:30 to 4:30 in an office, things like having access to childcare, things like having access to transportation to get you to an appointment. So it's really important, and we've seen a significant growth in terms of the numbers of people that are able to, let's say, in the evenings, access employment services, or maybe people who don't live close to one of our Nova Scotia work centers has really seen their access to service increase. So I think that's just been such a great benefit. And then beyond that, I think there's two other kind of trends that we've seen as well. One in terms of interprovincial migration. So people who are considering moving here to Nova Scotia from other areas of the country now have a better lens into what our local labor markets are like, can gain access to labor market information, and as well our newcomer Canadians as well to really kind of feel their way out before they're landing here in Nova Scotia. So it really gives them a leg up. So those are some of the things that we've seen that we really feel has increased the inclusion by delivering our services digitally.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, we're seeing, the increasing need to apply for employment online, even if the job itself isn't related to anything to do with technology. In one of our earlier sessions, we've heard kind of the whole accumulation of that. We had a newcomer who was able to create a resume and apply online for a position that had nothing to do with online, but it was all because of that digital inclusion skill. So that's great. Colleen, so how about from your perspective, how does that digital inclusion or exclusion sort of surface in the work that Solutions Learning is doing in training and employment?
Yeah, so much like Ernie has said, a lot of people, of course, aren't able to come in person, and that could be for many different reasons. But when I mentioned earlier about the rural parts of the province, they might not have access to a library, to a resource center, to have a computer to use. So us going into those different areas of the province is allowing people that maybe wouldn't have had that connection otherwise. A big thing that I discovered during the spring, I would say, is I did a kind of a needs assessment, recognizing that a lot of people over 50 do not have the technical skills. So I put on a pilot program for the province, very successful this past summer, for the 50-plus sector. And let me tell you, they needed it. So they weren't born with a laptop in their hand like much of the younger generation today. So they did kind of feel excluded with the technical online way things are working. So allowing them to have the training right in their dining room and having a community now of like-minded, age-minded individuals, they don't feel isolated. They don't feel alone anymore. They feel this sense of empowerment. And also introducing new ideas for employment, things that they could do remote. So the inclusion compartment, now they can work hybrid. They can work from the home. They don't have to worry about childcare, transportation. So I see that as really moving people forward in a whole other element, and that is definitely where the direction is going. So we love GEO.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I'm gonna come back to you in just a second. We're gonna go and sort of jump online there, Clayton. From the APTEC perspective, what are you folks seeing when it comes to the training and employment, digital inclusion lens?
It's imperative for us. We work with a lot of, as I said, off-reserve rural clients, and a lot of them don't have, whether it's financially or just for location-wise, they don't have access to the resources or devices that they could get that would help them with employment and training. And as someone mentioned, everything, I think you did, Josie, everything, applying for jobs, it's all online now, right? So it's imperative. And it's been a huge resource for us being able to access what you guys are able to bring to us, like substantially. We're so thankful, but there's no way we can function without it, especially with our clients and the demographic we deal with.
Absolutely. Okay, coming back to the table now, Amin. What's
thank you.
Digital Nova Scotia seeing?
Yeah, actually, I think there's a huge gap between people who are not ready and able to access the internet, and on the other side, we have employers who are more and more demanding in terms of skills. We have also a lot of training resources that all are available remotely and online. So the question, or the big question, is how to bridge that gap. And I think training and mentorship are key elements for this. Now I think the digital literacy can be like a kind of AI literacy building, since employers are asking more and more than that. And we can also move further from inclusion also to having that access to internet, but also building and creating based on that. Because now it's easier to connect to a machine, to speak to a machine. We don't need to be a programmer to communicate with a machine. So maybe we people who have access also can create value as a next step. And I think that's really a very important topic that we can build upon when we are building those training and digital literacy programs. The second thing is also cybersecurity and awareness, which is also very important in my opinion, because people who just have access to internet, they are very happy, and they are getting everywhere sometimes. And if they are not aware, they can be scammed. It's a kind of a risky place also, so building that confidence also is very important. Thank you.
Absolutely. Fiona, let's...
You want me to chime in? Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of the themes have been covered. I think, too, that emerged for me is the rural-urban divide, and then digital literacy. A bit of a personal story. I'm a little bit of a storyteller, as my team knows. I moved back to Nova Scotia. I'm from here after living in Big Bad, Alberta for quite a while, over a decade. And when I was interviewing for this role, we were very HRM focused. We had an office here, and most of our team at that time was here, although that has changed. And one of the things I spoke about extensively in that interview was I'm not from HRM. I'm probably from one of the small little nooks. I'm from Pictou County and very proud of that. And I spoke about how important it is to have representation focused on digital inclusion outside of our urban centers. I spend a lot of time here, truth be told, because this still is the heartbeat of our province. But we're seeing that in our outreach efforts as well. We're seeing huge growth in CBRM, Antigonish, Pictou counties, Colchester, Digby. A lot of those areas were represented here today and at the luncheon that I just attended, and that's so important. We're going to get into the other themes. That comes with a host of challenges. I myself am a rural internet program recipient. And so it's really important to have leadership in this space that actually exists in those communities and is doing outreach in those communities and really gets it. So the other theme that kind of emerged for me from what all of you were saying, and Clayton thinks, is the confidence it requires to exist in a digital space. And that so many folks in Nova Scotia are just gaining confidence to be on video like Clayton is, or, you know, deal in the cloud, whatever that means. I'm still figuring out the cloud. Or, you know, apply for jobs online. That takes confidence, and that doesn't happen overnight. That's years and years of existing in the digital space. So we do a lot of work on coaching and mentorship in building digital, what I would call digital confidence too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's something that's ever evolving. You know, I mean, at GEO, we work across the province, so obviously being online is every day, and there's, I think, always something that we're learning, always new features, and it's ever progressing. Then we bring in AI, and we bring in cybersecurity, and, you know, all of these other sort of topics and overwhelming skills that we need to learn on a continuous basis. So what else are you seeing that happening today when it comes to digital inclusion and working with Nova Scotians when it comes to, you know, gaining that confidence in their training or in their employment? We're going to pop over to Clayton. We'll put you in the hot seat first. So what kind of emerging things are you seeing?
It's a continuously increasing demand from our clients to have, whether it's internet or a cell phone or laptop, those resources to connect with the internet for job applications, for training, like the clients that we send through post-secondary education, they need a laptop. In SCC, it's literally in their description for the course loads. Majority of those programs require laptops. We unfortunately don't have a program that runs it anymore. Based on our funding agreement we have with Service Canada. So we were limited. It's more and more students every year are coming to us saying, like, we need a laptop with these specifications. I can't function without, especially the design programs, the IT programs. Like, it's so important. And additionally, a huge barrier, of course, we're working with clients that are trying to get a job, right? So the effects of the economy are creating huge barriers for these individuals that we work with financially. So the increased demands, and I'm going to circle back again, Josie. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have the resource to be able to help these clients out. So thank you again.
Oh, well, and you're most welcome. I think it's kind of this natural assumption these days that everyone has a computer. Yeah. Everyone has this. And, you know, and I think, you know, people are more inclined to maybe have those cell devices or those kinds of technologies, but not always, as you say, Clayton, the laptop that they need. So it is really important. Coming back over, Amin, what are you folks seeing when it comes to, you know, these emerging trends? We've talked about AI a little bit and the cybersecurity. What else are you seeing?
Yeah, I think the job market is changing, and it's changing even so fast nowadays. So continuous learning is not an option. Now everybody had to have the resources and access to those learning resources so that they can thrive in their jobs and they can have access to better careers. The second thing is that AI is also helping a little bit by providing this intelligent learning platforms now we are using and some people are using. So they are so intelligent that they can tailor the learning toward the participant. So that can make it more inclusive in terms of access to learning, and that's, in my opinion, very important nowadays. So that's all.
Perfect, perfect. Colleen, what are you folks seeing?
Definitely, like Clayton said, Internet is not a luxury. It is a necessity. And to think that everyone has it, well, I'm proud to say since 2014 it was 79% and now it's 93% thanks to GEO. So yes, but even with that, it would be again the strength of the broadband. So like say if I'm doing video conferencing or Zoom calls, they need that speed in that to be able to, even like Clayton said about the design, certain applications in the laptop or the equipment, and not everyone has the proper equipment to be able to service that. So there is that component. Also too, back to the inclusion part, a little pitch for us is we are now offering the CAKE, which was formerly known as the GED. Up until last March, they changed the name to CAKE, standing for Canadian Adult Education Credential. So that is now being offered online through Solutions. So for people wanting to finish their high school that maybe don't have the opportunity to come to our center in person, I love now that we are going to be able to tap that market for them to be able to complete and further their education being online. So
That's wonderful.
yeah, that's a really big thing we just launched. So excited about that.
Perfect. And Ernie, how are you? What are you folks seeing is emerging with
Yeah,
employment?
within the employment service system, and this is something that really took us by surprise, to be very honest with you, is a significant shift towards using, and I know we talked about higher education and needing laptops, but in the employment service sphere, we're seeing a significant shift towards our clients using mobile devices as opposed to desktops. And if you think about how traditionally, like if you picture in your mind what job searching is like, you're thinking about yourself sitting behind a computer,
Yeah.
typing out your resume, maybe checking out Career Beacon or Indeed, but the reality is today in 2025, that's not really how the majority of our users are job searching anymore. On our platform, novascotiaworks.ca, there's about 67%, so 2/3 of our users are actually accessing the website from a mobile device and not a desktop or laptop. So that should indicate a lot of how things have changed and how the dynamic of people maybe looking for jobs or working on their resume when they're sitting on the bus or when they've got some spare time on the sidelines of their child's sports game.
Right.
So it's really, really changed, and it's actually changed the way that we have needed to develop our product. So when we first started developing in 2019, 2020, pretty much everything that we did was very kind of web-centric. Like our UX and UI design, we always did the desktop version first, and then we worked on the mobile
Yeah.
version. But now in
Yep.
2025, that's completely flipped.
Yep.
So the first UX UI that we design is the mobile, and then we adapt that to our desktop version. So it's amazing how in such a short period of time, user behavior can change so much, and I think it's really indicative. We've had some mentions of every job is like, it seems like every job you're applying online nowadays. Well, how do we make the considerations in terms of digital inclusion, in terms of accessibility, of helping employers understand that you need to make these application processes work for people who are maybe trying to fill it out on their phone and
Right.
not necessarily
Right.
typing it out or doing everything on their computer.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of funny because we sort of, with solutions learning, there's been a lot of Chromebooks, and then, NPower, APTEC, you folks are looking more at the laptops. So when we're into the training, we're looking at those devices and then flip to now it's time to find that work, and we're on mobile. So of course, then there's a whole change in skill set that's required there. Yeah, so Fiona, did you feel like weighing in, like, what do you folks at NPower? I know you do a little bit different programming sometimes, so.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm sitting with some really smart folks because you've all made all the points that came to mind for me, but really excellent points. I love that you touched on broadband and speed. Very important. We require our participants to be on video, which goes back to digital confidence and accessibility and. I'm going to take it in a slightly different direction because we are employment focused, and we really appreciate our friends over at Nova Scotia Works and APTEC, so thank you. We are connected to 6 other regions across the country, so I get the benefit of seeing a lot of data from other economies and other job environments. And one thing that we keep hearing from big bad Toronto is that everyone's getting called back to the office. And it's been in the news a lot. You know, U of T just made an announcement, and there's a few other big ones, RBC. And what I'm happy to share is that we're not necessarily seeing that trend as aggressively here in the Atlantic region. I think, you know, during COVID, we had to evolve and we had to start to work remotely, and so a lot of folks got really used to that, and their lives got better because of it, due to, you mentioned childcare, transportation, health and wellness, perhaps being a primary caregiver to an aging parent, et cetera. We are seeing more hybrid structure, but we're not necessarily seeing the rug being pulled out from under people, which makes me really happy and really proud, and I think speaks to the trust that we have in our communities here in Nova Scotia in particular. That's going to be, again, different in the rural environments versus the urban. It's different in, you know, customer service roles versus being in a corporate cubicle role, which I think many of us have spent time in. But I think it makes us unique. And so I'm regularly on meetings where we have high-level discussions about, you know, back to the office, and I can say we're not seeing that as much here. And I don't know if you would agree with that, but it's unique to our region, but it also drives home how important digital inclusion is, right? So it just goes to show that the work that we're doing is really important, and that the changes that were made here are sticking around. I benefit from it. I think we all have an element of hybrid work in our roles, and I'm very grateful for it. So I want to see that for our job seekers too. It does, you know, help with their lives for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks.
Perfect. Min, did you want to weigh in on this? So what things are you folks seeing? Of course, Digital Nova Scotia, you would see lots of different things emerging.
Yeah, maybe I'll start with a fun fact regarding my father. So I call him, he's usually like the last one to adopt technology. He's several thousand kilometers from here, and now he's like addict to social networks. He's connecting with my kids like 3 times a week. So it's a kind of first barrier, but once people are there, there's a lot of opportunities that came with internet actually. So it's like social inclusion. It's also economic inclusion after creating value. It's access to everything. So I think if we can bridge that first barrier, which is having access, there's plenty of resources. If we can have that confidence that we can thrive with, and we can even optimize all the applications process to jobs. So we can even tell people and learn how to be autonomous in using AI to craft great resumes, to prepare for interviews, for a lot of applications. So I think it's very useful. So once they have access to that, there's plenty of opportunities to exploit.
It's wonderful. Yeah, you talk about the social media, and it kind of brings to light that when we're dealing with different demographics, and we always think that the skill set is kind of more to the older folks that need to work on their digital skills, but it's just a different skill set. So, a lot of our younger generation may have lots of great social media skills, or when it comes to the AI, they may have that familiarity, but maybe it's information sharing that they're not as familiar with, or whatever. So a part of that is kind of, I think, we're seeing that need to kind of merge everyone into that same group. And again, when we come to the employment factors, like, some of our younger generation have so much experience online that maybe some of those employment searching skills are not quite there as they would be for those of us that maybe had to actually, figure out a way to type a resume and go knock on a door and, and I mean, not even just print it, I mean, typewriter it. Going back to the real old days. Wonderful. So we're kind of now thinking about, opportunities for Nova Scotia when we're talking about digital inclusion, and especially in relation to, the training and employment. So we've talked about different things that are emerging. what is it that we're doing now that we need to do better? You know, how can we improve with digital inclusion or preventing the exclusion, as it will, you know, when it comes to that? I know, Fiona, you've kind of been playing catch up, and so let's start with you. So this time you'll get the opportunity to put your ideas out first.
I feel like you innately know that I might not put the mic down if I'm the first to speak. Two things came to mind. The first is rural connectivity. In the panel on digital inclusion and homelessness, there was an example given where someone had to walk to the end of their driveway and hold their cell phone. There, I aged myself. Their smartphone in the air to get to work. I know exactly what that's like. It's like that for so many Nova Scotians. If I get on a 10-minute catch up with a colleague at my home, I can't drive into town. I'm really identifying how rural I am now. So I don't think there's any government representatives here, and I know it is a focus of the Houston government, but that we need better infrastructure. I'm not an expert in infrastructure, but I know that for sure just from a day-to-day basis. And where we are seeing phone usage versus, you know, being plugged in at home or even on Wi-Fi, that's even more crucial. So I would love to see that in the next 5 years. And it's literally putting up towers is what it is. So we'll see. The second piece I think that we, myself included, could all improve on is accessibility, because so many events like this, community forums, roundtables, are facilitated now both in person and online. And as much as we try to be inclusive, hey Clayton, we know you're still there, and accessible, it's a totally different experience. I've watched many things, you know, remotely, and I often think about those who have different disabilities, whether it's hearing, sight, speech, etc., and how different it would be to experience that versus being in the room with a sign language interpreter, for example, even with captions and that sort of thing. I think about accessibility a lot and trying to create equity in those experiences, because we live in this hybrid world now. So that comes to mind for me. Again, not an expert on digital accessibility in that sense, but something that is top of mind for me, working with participants from all walks of life. Yeah.
Absolutely. Clayton, what are you thinking as far as, Fiona put you on the hot spot there, pointing out that you're still in the room. What are you seeing as things that we need to improve upon when it comes to digital inclusion?
I'm going to keep mine pretty short and sweet, but one really positive note is stuff like this that we're encompassing into daily society. Like myself, I'm currently living with a thing called reactive arthritis. I was recently diagnosed with. So like my joints, I don't know if you can see my knuckles, but they're swollen. My limbs, my mobility is getting better, but there was a point in time where I was having a very rough go. Things like this allow me to continue to do the work that I do. You know, working for APTEC, it's imperative what we do, and I hated being away from my job. So I was able to work from home, thankfully, and it worked out good. But all I'm going to say about this part, and it's going to be short and sweet, is that the governments need to step up and increase funding for these initiatives. Short and simple.
Well, we won't argue with that one. Certainly. Amin, what are you folks at Digital Nova Scotia seeing as the key things that we really need to start focusing on and improving upon?
Yeah, I think I built the after the panel this morning. I think data is very important because before this panel, I tried to get some information about where we are with digital inclusion. There's not a lot of resources, a lot of data to use actually. So having a dashboard of Nova Scotia and what other services that are missing, where they are missing, that can be like a driver to a lot of nonprofits to help, and a lot of profits also to help to bridge that gap.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, we might as well just pass her on down the line.
Thank you. Much like Fiona would said about the rural areas, that's something I can speak to because I just, like I said, was in every little part. Definitely accessibility is a huge thing as well. The big thing I've seen, not only in our center, but actually even meeting individuals when I'm out in those rural communities, is the barrier of mental health. So I say COVID, as everyone knows, one thing it did highlight is we train differently, we work differently, hybrid work. But the one thing I say with COVID that really was highlighted is we're not meant to isolate, we are meant to coexist. So the big thing that I found with the digital inclusion in those rural communities is now they don't feel alone, they don't feel isolated because they have a community through their digital network. So that is the biggest thing, that they won't necessarily be able to walk down the block, but now they can go online and meet with someone that's like-minded, that will give them that extra little push they might need for encouragement. But like I say, it's all about, for me, it's one thing to give them the device, but they need to be trained.
Yeah.
It's not like, to give them the laptop is one thing, but what can you do with that laptop? How can we empower you so that you are using what resources we can to move you forward?
Absolutely.
So
and
that's the
it's
big
not
thing,
one
the training
size.
and support, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I think for us, like as a provincial Department of Labor and Skills, and from a federal perspective as well, and in the tables that we sit around, a great opportunity for us is surrounding labor market information and the kind of accessibility of how people are able to access information that helps them make career choices, find out what their next job is going to be. I think just from an inclusion standpoint, it's challenging because I think one of the great opportunities for us over the next couple of years is to figure out how to leverage generative AI to help deliver this information, this really, really complex information. That's the feedback that we get. Labor market information is confusing. It doesn't make sense. It's not timely. So how do we leverage AI in a way that gets our end users the information that they need, but in a way that's responsible, in a way
Right.
that's ethical, in a way that they can actually trust the information is what they need to take their next step in their career or find out what they're going to be doing next. So I think it is probably right now, from my standpoint, probably one of the greatest challenges, but also one of the greatest opportunities. And I think we're all looking forward to seeing how it's going to go. I know there were some remarks early this morning, and I know, Amin, you had mentioned some AI stuff as well. But I really think it's important for Nova Scotia to continue to be forward-facing, to be on the forefront of not so much taking risks. I certainly don't want to present it in a way that it's taking risks, but to be one of the first provinces and territories that are out there and really kind of lead the way. I think it's going to be really important for us going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really happy to say I think there's been a lot of ways in which Nova Scotia has been leading the way, especially when it comes to digital inclusion, and making sure that all Nova Scotians are having those tools and the skills and the things that we need to ensure that we're successful online and in life. All your feedback has been so valued, and I love that you say too about barriers are opportunities. That's a very GEO mindset. We look at all the different barriers that we come across as an opportunity to find a solution and a way to push forward. So I think we'll take a few minutes. We still have a few minutes left. If there's any questions anybody would like to ask our panel, remembering, of course, that Clayton is joining us online, so we can feel free to put Clayton to the test as well. Does anyone have any questions?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the great panel. When we talk about education, there's a lot of different avenues. Do you think there's other opportunities or more opportunities to work with, we'll say, traditional education? So schools, whether that's, elementary all the way through post-secondary. How do you feel we, like, organizations, I mean, I'm from Digital Nova Scotia as well. So how do you see, how do we fit in? Are there opportunities that we could maybe collaborate a little bit better?
Are you okay with that? Great. I love this question. Thank you. My background prior to joining NPower Canada was post-secondary. Actually was an instructor, so I did some time in the classroom. But I understand the post-secondary mindset, and the biggest opportunity I see is right fit at the right time for the individual. And I think we could be much better at co-referrals. Oftentimes, I'm going to speak to youth in particular here, so 18 to 35 is youth for us. you know, there's a lot of, can I call them kids? I can now. There's a lot of kids that end up in the post-secondary system that are smart, bright, hardworking people, but it's not the right fit. And they could be the right fit for our programs collectively, Digital Nova Scotia, NPower Canada, any of our programs that we offer. But we have to be able to find them. And that's one way we could co-refer. Vice versa, actually, NPower Canada does encourage continuing education, and we do support participants who decide they maybe want to start an undergrad because for the first time they have the computer and the phone and the confidence to go and do that, right? Which is very exciting. But I don't have a go-to person at Dalhousie University in the registrar's office that I can say, hey, you know, this is Pardeep, he's amazing. I think he should do MBA with you. Can you help him, right? So I think we need to not see the competitive landscape that way, but we need to see it as a co-referral landscape. And so there are some great opportunities in that space. I'll just, you know, speak to a couple that I've seen. Dalhousie Talent Pathways is a good one. NSCC has a really great open doors, meet you where you're at policy, but we could be better at knowing who's who at the zoo. So hopefully that's a good opportunity. We'll see. I'm working on it. Yeah, go ahead.
And I can add on top of that, just to give a little plug from something that our department, in partnership with Education and Early Childhood Development, are doing. We're actually the only province and territory in Canada that has implemented a program where we actually have Nova Scotia Works. So we have certified career development practitioners in every single public high school across the province. So that's, again, just a groundbreaking thing that we thought of and we're trying to do in order to give our young people a step forward and a preview of what the labor market, kind of what the working world is going to be like. And through that, through the introduction to what Nova Scotia Works is, to other partners who are delivering training, employment, educational related programming, it's really important just to give them the visibility into what's available out there. And then, and then hopefully to help them find their full potential. Yeah, so it's called the Nova Scotia Works School Liaison Program, and if you'd like to find out more, you can look that up online, or feel free to grab me afterwards. I'd be more than happy to chat more about it.
Okay, perfect.
Hi, my name's Cheryl Newcomb. I'm on the panel a little while ago, but I'm the treasurer at TeamWorks, and we are a Nova Scotia Works agency. And I'm really interested in this because we have, we are a Nova Scotia Works. And there are so many programs, and not everybody knows about them. You're right. If I only had somebody I could pick up the phone and call at Dow or at SMU or, and make the referral. Or the other side of that coin is the one from Dow, call us and say, you know what? We got a little guy here that's wasting some money, and he really should be in a different program. And I think that is something we're missing completely. And that, I think there used to be it's a long time since I've been in high school. It's probably 50 years since I've been in university, so it's a long time. But the guidance counselor program doesn't seem to be as effective as it used to be. Having our people in the high schools, brilliant. It is a brilliant program. We're having a lot of success with that. But not everybody listens, and we need to get to moms and dads who are often driving the kids into the wrong. So I think we need to focus on that somehow. I don't have the answers.
I think it's your data dashboard. So you're going to build a dashboard, and then we'll create a directory, and life will be good, right?
Right. It's the stone soup theory, right? We're all going to come together and yeah, we'll share resources. Ernie, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that? You had the mic. I didn't want to cut you
Yeah,
off.
I was just going to mention, so as part of the extension of the school liaisons, there also is a program that used to be called Parents as Career Coaches, and now is called Let's Talk Careers. So the continued development of that program that arms parents and caregivers with the knowledge that's necessary to guide their young people into significant and prosperous careers is something that obviously we continue to work on. So work in progress.
Nice. Thank you. Was there anything else? Oh, Paul, yes, did you want to? We've got about a few minutes left, so we'll pop that back in there. There we go.
And I guess I'll just add to that. So I think there is solutions out there. And like you were saying, I think it's all about collaboration. So knowing what's out there and knowing who has what. And at the end of the day, I think everyone recognizes the importance of connecting our youth or our people or anyone looking for work to jobs. But sometimes we don't look at what's already been built. So for instance, through Statistics Canada, they created national occupational codes. Back in 2016 was the first iteration of that. And you can actually query a database to see where nurses are or where pharmacists are. You could actually query a system, and if anyone's interested in learning more about this system, I'd be happy to share. But you could actually say, show me all the students from NSCC that's looking for an internship. Show me all the students from Dalhousie looking for an internship. And it's already been built. But the problem is I think everyone's trying to go it alone, and we need to kind of look at this more collectively, because duplicating the solutions is not our best path forward. We have to look at what's out there, how do we leverage that, and how do we plug into it. And that's how we're going to have the best impact, is by looking at who has what and joining hands and making sure we're putting our people forward.
Yeah, you're going to do that with your database and your AI. I mean, so perfect. Well, thank you. Hard to believe we're out of time. But yeah, I mean, just to agree, I think that a big part of it is, sharing our resources, sharing our information, not recreating the wheel, and making sure that we're all working together in partnership. And I think that's going to be the best way to ensure that we're all included, nobody's getting left behind, and we're all safe doing it. We'd like to take just a moment again to remind everyone that there are QR codes around the room. So please ensure that you use those. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us and me. It's always great when I finally get to put faces and names together and have some in-person time. So much is done online. Clayton, next time, hopefully you'll be able to join us in person. Perhaps maybe we'll come and join you in person the next time. We'll just come to APTEC and we'll.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, for sure. So thank you all for joining us. And again, I hope you all have an amazing day. And we'll be meeting for hard to believe it, our last session of the day will be coming up shortly. So we'll see you soon.